it's hard to say because everybody has their support group. Whether you're talented or not, you got your family and friends saying, "You're awesome. You're amazing." It's like, and you believe it, right? Um, so I think the 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 time where I actually knew, because like you don't know when you're 16. I mean, maybe some of them, not everybody's Daniel Johns from Silverchair that writes a smash hit at 16 years old, right? Um, but you start playing, you start getting a bunch of comments from other bands and say like, "Oh my god, like you're awesome, like you're amazing at this." It's like, okay, cool, thanks. And you kind of keep going, and then you start touring and um, working with other people, and you're not comparing yourself really. Like, it's, you're not saying like, "Oh, I'm a better drummer than this guy or a better singer than this guy." It's nothing to do with that. You're just kind of going with the motions. You just follow what you're passionate about. And I was passionate, and I remain passionate. And it was when I met Arnold Lanni at 24. He told me, he said, "Hey, out of the 30 years I'm working with people, you're one of the most talented dudes I've ever met, and I see a lot of myself in you, and I'd love to have you down here for the next 5 or so years and teach you everything I know and mentor you." So when he told me that, I was like, "Oh, this is one of my idols telling me that maybe I can do this." That's what I guess solidified that I can do this. Because before then it was always just playing in band, having fun on the road, and you don't know if you can actually do it or not, sustain a career, right?
How did you end up with that Arnold Lanni connection? How do you get to the point where he's telling you you're one of the most talented people I've met?
Well, his brother Rob at Coalition Music manages the bands that Arnold had developed and produced. Finger 11, Our Lady Peace, Simple Plan. Those are Coalition's bands, right? We had sent in demos to Rob Lanni first, right, at Coalition. My brother pretty much did all the heavy lifting there. He would, send it to Rob, and Rob would call us back and say, "Yeah, the songs aren't there. Send me some more stuff." Send him some more stuff. I think it was like maybe the third round, and Rob's like, "Holy shit, this is some really good stuff. What do you want to do with this?" And we're like, "We would love to meet your brother because he's made our favorite albums." That's how so he passed it on to Arnold, and Arnold had said, "You know what? Why don't you guys come down here for a week?" So we went down to California through the setup of Rob and through my brother getting to Rob, and we spent a week down there. And that's when he had I guess sort of took me aside and said that to me. And now I'm thinking too, it's like, he probably says this to everybody, like, who knows, right? But then the fact that he paid my way down there, gave me a car down there, gave me a house down there, paid me like for projects. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm the only one down here, so I guess you see something. And that's sort of when I knew that maybe there is something that I can build off of.
And when you think back to working with Arnold Lanni, what are the thoughts, the memories, the emotions that come to you right now? That's an important part of your life.
Yeah, he's a very unique guy. He's a musical genius, man. Like, him in front of a piano writing melodies is like, that's something I'll never forget or take for granted, for that matter. But he never took himself too seriously. Like, it's always just like, I remember once he told me, I was so like shocked that when we were writing this part, and he just goes to the piano and just writes this chorus, like as if he already had it before. And I was like, holy shit, Arnold, how did you know to do that? Like, we just write this one part, and then you go there and write this, this incredible chorus. How did you even know that should happen? Like, and he said, when you have the sensation, like I remember this, he's like, when you have the sensation to take a piss, where do you go? It's like, the bathroom. He's like, where else would you go? I was like, nowhere. I go to the bathroom. He's like, that's me with songs. I just know where to go. When he said that, and he's not a cocky guy. He's just, that's what he knows, right? So when he said that to me, I was like, oh, okay. And he said, don't worry, you'll get there one day. It happens. Just keep doing it. So that's one memory I took from there. There's a million of them. He's the analogy king. Every situation you find yourself in, there's an Arnold analogy attached to it somewhere. extremely slow eater, very slow eater. Like,
Apparently you live longer if you're a slow eater. So.
oh man, he's the first week, the first day we were there, he had he's like, all right, let's go out and grab a bite. And he's like, you could take your own car. Thinking, wow, we just drive together to the restaurant. He's like, no, you might want to take your own car. And I was like, why? He's like, I take a little long to eat. I'm like, okay, it's fine. Like, we'll go together. How long could it be? And I remember we have I forgot what we were eating, but he's there with his fork. I'm already halfway done. I'm Italian, so I'm just crushing my meal. And grabs a piece of chicken or something like that, and he has it up, and he's almost about to eat it. And then he puts it down and starts checking football stats, like what the draft order is that year. I'm like, oh wow, he takes a very long time to eat, but it's good because it makes for good conversation, right? And a lot of wisdom. And he loves helping people, and not just myself. Anybody that I've seen him, come across, sends texts that are novels to people, helping them through things in life, not even just musically, just anything in life, right? He will always take the time to help somebody out when they're going through something. I was actually there during 2 breakups while I was down there. Because I was traveling back and forth. And one of the most important things he told me that stuck was, he was saying, he's like, man, he goes, I know it seems right to keep going back to the same girl, and it's like, there's that attachment, there's that first love thing still attached to it. He's like, but how did he put it? He said, don't date the same, date 100 girls once, don't date the same girl 100 times. He's like, then you'll find the one. I was like, holy shit. So so he helped me through a lot of stuff there. Like he would see me sometimes in the gym or something like that. Let's go grab a beer, go grab a bite. So he really helped me out, not just musically, but with just life in general.
So I have the quote to end all quotes. So I reached out and I was able to get a hold of Arnold Lanni. And you mentioned that he, if someone needs help or support or words of encouragement, he'll write a novel. So not only did I get a quote from Arnold Lanni, after 2.5 years of doing this podcast, getting hundreds of quotes, this is the longest quote that I've received. So he must like you if he wrote a novel. So bear with me here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna go through all of it. So for our listeners, Arnold Lanni is one of the greatest Canadian producers of all time. He did the first 4 Our Lady Peace albums, including the diamond certified album Clumsy. There's almost no album in Canada's gone diamond, let alone a Canadian band. So that's ridiculous. We mentioned I think he did the first 2 Finger 11 albums, or not. Yeah, first 2 after the name change. Simple Plan, 1,000 Foot Crutch. This guy's a legend. And this is what Arnold Lanni has to say about Steve Moe. He says, I'm always happy to talk about my friend Steve. He's a great drummer, musician, and producer. He's also very creative, and as a result, he's one of the few drummers who understands how to play drums for the song. He's got a great sense of groove, and because he's so smart and intuitive, he takes musical direction incredibly well. Steve never has to be told anything twice. Is this true? Then he says, during a session, he'll absorb all the musical direction and ideas being tried and articulated, and then absorb the best of it and then deliver a performance that is perfect. It's hard to be perfect. He's always upbeat and positive, and he always sees the glass of life as half full. His never quit attitude is infectious, and his creativity is boundless. He's a joy to work with. He has a sweet and caring disposition that's honest and sincere, and it endears him to everyone. Along with all his wonderful creative and musical abilities, he's also developed a tremendous work ethic. He just never stops working. His character and integrity is beyond reproach, and he's fiercely loyal. And as great as he is as a musician and producer, he's even a better man. I'm super proud of him, and I'm lucky to have him as my friend. Sadly, though, as perfect and blessed as Steve is, you know where this is going. God played a cruel joke on him when he was born. Unfortunately, Steve's been cursed with being a diehard Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Every year, I have to hear the same old tired refrain. This is the one, Arn. every year. This year is the year for the Leafs. They're going all the way. They're going to win the cup. He's a little bit delusional when it comes to hockey. At one point, just to check his grasp of reality, I once asked him if he thought Santa Claus was real. Steve, being so obsessed with the Maple Leafs, replied, "I don't see his name on the program, so I'm guessing he's still down in the minors."
Oh
So
man.
his love of hockey aside, Steve is a great creative drummer, musician, and producer who can do it all. But best of all, he's a great guy. Much love from Arn. So that's Arnold
Man,
Lanni,
what
super
a guy.
producer.
That is classic Arn for sure. The Leafs thing is funny because I poke fun at Jordan, obviously, with the Habs. Now I get that from Arnold. Very fitting. Yeah, it is true. I every single year, because you'll always kind of ask me, what's going on with your Leafs this year? It's like, oh, Arn, is the one. Like Matthews coming off a big season, 60 plus goals, and Marner and these guys, and then I mean, this year we are doing well. Maybe it is the one.
Yeah, maybe nothing changes. Maybe
one.
this year is the
This is
one.
the one. Yeah.
There's always hope. So normally when I get quotes for my guests for the interviews, normally I've had some communication with those people in the past. And with Arnold, I've never spoken to him, never been in communication with him. He's not on Facebook. He's he's one of the all-time greats. So
yeah.
I tried a bunch of different things. I ended up finding an email, like people still use email, right? I end up finding an email. I throw off an email and just assume, like, obviously this isn't going to come back in time or if ever. And right away I got that lengthy response. So I totally, that was a Hail Mary pass. And and he came back with it. So that's an awesome one.
He's an incredible guy.